Story 1. I dropped the flashlight the second I saw myself standing beside the ice machine on the security monitor. The screen showed me perfectly. Same uniform, same posture, same face, but I was alone in the office, watching it happen live. Before I could even process that, the figure on the monitor slowly turned its head toward the camera and smiled. Then the front desk phone rang. The caller ID showed only one thing: Room 117. The problem was, our motel didn't have a room 17. For a few seconds, I just stared at the screen, trying to understand what I was looking at. My name is Ryan, and 2 years ago, I worked the overnight shift at a small motel outside Flagstaff, Arizona. It sat just off a highway exit, surrounded by empty desert and long stretches of darkness. Most nights were boring. A few late check-ins, some coffee, paperwork, and then hours of silence. That silence is probably why I noticed the ice machine in the first place. Every night, at exactly 1:17 a.m., it turned on. Not around 1:17, not close to 1:17, exactly. At first I thought it was part of an automatic cycle. The machine sat near the rear staircase, outside beneath a covered walkway. Guests used it all the time. There was nothing unusual about it running. But after a few weeks, I realized something strange. It always activated at 1:17, even on nights when maintenance had shut it down. One night I asked Carl, the maintenance guy, about it. He froze for a second before answering. Then he laughed and changed the subject. The reaction felt forced, like he didn't want to discuss it. A few nights later, a truck driver checked in around midnight. He looked exhausted. When I handed him his key card, he glanced toward the rear hallway and asked if the machine still started at 1:17. The question caught me off guard. I asked how he knew about it. He just shrugged. "Stayed here before," he said. "Don't go outside when it starts." Then he walked away. I assumed he was joking. At 1:17, I stepped outside anyway. The machine hummed loudly as Ace dropped into the bin. Nothing unusual happened. No strange people, no noises, nothing. Then I noticed a pickup truck parked at the far edge of the lot. I hadn't seen it arrive. Its headlights were off, engine off, just sitting there. The windows were too dark to see inside. I watched it for a minute before going back inside. When I checked the security footage later, the truck was already there before my shift had even started, but I knew it hadn't been. The timestamp suggested it had been parked there for 6 hours. That made no sense. I reviewed the footage again. Around 1:17, every camera experienced a brief glitch. Only 3 seconds. But during those 3 seconds, the truck appeared, like it had been inserted into the recording. That bothered me more than I wanted to admit. The following night, I paid closer attention. At exactly 1:17, the machine activated. This time, 1:17 values watts, values. He wasn't collecting ice. He was just staring into the bin, completely motionless. I switched to another camera angle. Nobody there. Back to the first angle. Still standing there. Another angle. Gone. First angle. Present. I rushed outside. The walkway was empty. No footprints. No person. Nothing. When I reviewed the footage again, the man had disappeared entirely, like he'd never been recorded. That should have been enough for me to stop caring. Instead, I became obsessed. Every night I watched. Every night something felt slightly wrong. One night the cameras lost 4 seconds exactly at 1:17. Another night the rear door unlocked itself. Another night I found wet footprints leading from the ice machine to the stairwell. Nobody on camera created them. Then came the phone calls. They started 2 weeks later. Every night at 1:17, the front desk phone rang. No caller ID, just static. Sometimes faint breathing, sometimes silence. One night, I heard what sounded like ice cubes rattling inside a metal bucket. Another night, a voice whispered, "Still watching." Before disconnecting, I reported it to management. They blamed prank callers, but nobody could explain how the calls always arrived at exactly the same second. Then something happened that genuinely scared me. A woman checked into room 209 around midnight. About 30 minutes later, she came down looking pale. She asked if anyone had been knocking on her door. I told her no. She hesitated before speaking again. Then why did someone keep saying my room number outside? I checked the cameras. Nobody had approached room 209. Nobody had even walked upstairs. Yet she seemed genuinely frightened. She checked out before dawn. A week later, another guest reported hearing someone dragging something heavy down the second-floor walkway around 1:20 a.m. Again, no footage, no evidence, just another strange incident connected to the same time. That's when I decided to stay outside near the machine before it activated. At 1:15, I positioned myself on a bench across the parking lot. The desert air felt cold. The property was quiet. Then the machine started. Ice crashed loudly into the bin. And immediately, every insect sound around the motel stopped. Completely. No crickets, no distant noise, just silence. The kind that makes you aware of your own breathing. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, measured. I turned around. Nobody. But the footsteps continued. I could hear them moving across the gravel, circling, stopping whenever I looked, starting again when I turned away. Eventually, I went back inside. I didn't tell anyone about that part. It sounded crazy even to me. 3 nights later, Carl, the maintenance guy, finally said something useful. We were drinking coffee near the office when he asked if I'd been watching the machine. I admitted I had. He sighed heavily. Then he told me something I wish he'd told me sooner. About 12 years earlier, a night clerk disappeared during his shift. No signs of a struggle, no explanation. His car remained in the parking lot, wallet still inside. Surveillance footage showed him walking toward the ice machine around 1:17. Then the cameras glitched. Afterward, he was gone. Police never solved it. I thought Carl was messing with me, until he showed me an old newspaper clipping. The story was real. The missing clerk looked young, maybe 25, smiling in the photo. Ordinary, forgotten. That night I couldn't stop thinking about him. At 1:17, the machine started again. The phone rang immediately afterward. This time I answered. Static filled the line. Then I heard a voice, weak, distant. Don't go outside. The call disconnected. I checked caller records afterward. The call had originated from room 117. Again, the room that didn't exist. The next night I decided to investigate the numbering system. Our motel skipped directly from room 116 to room 118. There was no room 117 anywhere on the property. I checked old blueprints stored in a maintenance closet. That's when I found something strange. The original plans included a room 117 near the rear staircase, exactly where the ice machine now stood. Apparently, the room had been removed during renovations years ago. Nobody could tell me why. Around 1:10 that night, I went outside. The machine sat silent in the darkness. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed a reflection in its metal surface. Somebody standing behind me. I spun around. Nobody there. When I looked back, the reflection was gone. At 1:17, the machine activated, and every light in the motel flickered once, just once. When they stabilized, the rear staircase door stood open. I knew it had been closed moments earlier. I approached slowly. My flashlight beam shook slightly. The stairwell appeared empty. Then I noticed something taped to the wall. A motel key card. Room 117. My stomach dropped. The card looked old, faded, worn. On the back, someone had written a date. The date matched the night the missing clerk disappeared. I left immediately. The next morning, I handed in my resignation. Management didn't argue. They almost seemed relieved. For months afterward, I avoided thinking about the place. Then one evening, I received a strange email from a former coworker. The subject line contained only 4 words. You were right. Attached was a screenshot from the motel security system. The timestamp read 1:17 a.m. The image showed the ice machine beneath the rear staircase. Standing beside it was a man in a motel uniform, looking directly at the camera. I recognized him instantly. It was the missing clerk from the newspaper clipping. Same face, same uniform, same age. 12 years later, the email ended with one sentence. The camera only sees him for one frame. I never replied. But sometimes, usually around 1:17 in the morning, I think about that screenshot. Because there was one detail I noticed after staring at it long enough. The missing clerk wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at something standing just behind it. Story 2. The train doors slammed shut behind me, and that's when I saw myself still sitting inside the carriage. Not someone who looked a little like me. Me. Same jacket, same backpack, same exhausted face staring through the glass. The train began pulling away while that version of me slowly raised a hand and pointed toward the dark station behind me, and all I could think was, if I'm standing here, then who the hell is that? For a second, I honestly forgot how to move. The reflection excuse didn't work because the train had already passed beneath a dead section of lighting, and I was watching that figure from outside. Then the train disappeared into the tunnel, leaving me alone on a platform that suddenly felt much quieter than it should have. I wish I could say that was where the story started, but it wasn't. It started about 3 hours earlier. I was 27 at the time and working late shifts as a maintenance coordinator for a commercial property company in Chicago. Nothing exciting, mostly paperwork, emergency calls, and dealing with problems nobody wanted to handle during the day. That night had already been rough. A water leak downtown had kept me at work until nearly midnight, and by the time I reached the subway station, I was exhausted. The last train was scheduled to leave at 12:42 a.m. I remember checking the time because I almost missed it. The station was mostly empty except for a woman reading a paperback and a guy wearing a gray hoodie near the far end of the platform. Nothing seemed unusual, at least not then. The first strange thing happened after the third stop. The woman with the book got off, but a few minutes later, I noticed the same book sitting on a seat near me. I figured she forgot it. Then I realized the book was open to a page that had several words circled in pen. The circled words read, "Don't get off." I stared at it longer than I should have. It was probably a coincidence. People write random things in books all the time. Still, something about it bothered me. I moved to another seat. A few minutes later, I noticed the man in the gray hoodie had changed cars. He was now sitting 3 rows behind me. That wasn't unusual either, except I never saw him walk through the connecting doors. I checked my phone. No signal. Typical underground service issues. Then I heard something odd. Not loud, just faint static coming from the emergency intercom near the train doors. The static lasted maybe 5 seconds. Then a voice cut through. "Next stop, do not exit." Everybody in the car looked up. A second later, the normal automated announcement played, naming the actual station. Nobody reacted after that, like they hadn't heard the first message at all. I remember looking around, waiting for someone else to comment on it. Nobody did. That's when I started feeling uneasy. The train continued moving. More passengers got off. Fewer got on. By 1 a.m., there were only 6 people left. Then something happened that I still can't explain. I checked the route map above the doors. One of the station lights blinked on, then another, then another. It looked like the train was skipping backward along the road instead of forward. I pulled out my phone and opened the transit app. According to the app, we should have been approaching Monroe Station. Instead, the onboard map showed us heading toward a station we'd already passed 20 minutes earlier. The doors opened. The station sign outside wasn't Monroe. It wasn't any station name I recognized. Nobody got on. Nobody got off. The doors closed again. The train continued moving. The guy in the gray hoodie was staring directly at me now. Not constantly, just every time I looked up, like he knew I was watching him. Then something worse happened. The overhead lights flickered. Only once, just a quick flash. But during that flash, I could have sworn every passenger in the car was facing me. The lights returned to normal instantly. Everyone appeared to be sitting naturally again. looking at phones, looking out windows, looking anywhere except me. My heart was pounding by then. I told myself I was tired. Overtired people notice weird things, that's all. Then my phone vibrated. Somehow I had 1 bar of signal. A text message appeared from an unknown number. It contained only 3 words. Stay on board. I stared at the screen. Another message arrived immediately. Don't follow him. I looked up. The guy in the hoodie was standing now. The train slowed for another stop. The doors opened. He stepped onto the platform and turned around. Then he looked directly at me and nodded, like he wanted me to follow. Every instinct told me not to move. The doors closed. He disappeared behind us. I remember laughing nervously at myself after that. The whole situation felt ridiculous. Creepy, sure, but ridiculous. Then the train entered a tunnel and didn't come out. 5 minutes passed. 10. 15.
Underground tunnels on that route weren't nearly that long. People were noticing now. A man near the front car checked his watch repeatedly. A woman asked if anyone had service. Nobody answered. The train never slowed. It just kept moving through darkness. Then, without warning, it stopped. Complete silence. The lights remained on. The doors stayed closed. Outside the windows was nothing except black concrete. We sat there for maybe 2 minutes. Then the intercom crackled again. Final stop. Those were the only words. The train started moving immediately afterward. The passengers looked confused. So did I, because according to the route, we weren't anywhere near the final stop. Then we arrived at the station where everything went wrong. The platform looked real enough. Concrete walls, benches, signs. But the signs were blank. No station name, no advertisements, nothing. Just white panels. The doors opened. 3 passengers exited. Nobody entered. Then I noticed something disturbing. The people getting off weren't walking toward the stairs.
They were standing still, just standing on the platform, watching the train. The doors closed, the train pulled away, and every one of those people remained motionless until they vanished from sight. After that, I decided I was getting off at the next stop no matter what. I didn't care where it was. The next station arrived 8 minutes later. This time I stepped out immediately, and that's when I saw myself inside the train. The moment I told you about at the beginning. The train disappeared into darkness, leaving me alone. The station was empty. No employees, no announcements, no sounds except distant ventilation fans. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time. The exit gate was unlocked. Outside, I found myself in an industrial district I had never seen before. Warehouses, empty parking lots, no traffic, no people. I checked my phone. The time read 3:17 a.m. Nearly 2 hours had vanished. According to my route, I should have been home by 1:30. I started walking. After about 10 minutes, I found a gas station. The cashier looked relieved when I entered. "You came from the station?" he asked immediately. I nodded. He stared at me for several seconds. Then he asked which train. When I told him, he looked genuinely confused. He said that line stopped running after midnight because of track repairs. There shouldn't have been any trains at all. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He even showed me the transit alert online. Service suspended from midnight until 5 a.m. I ended up calling a rideshare home. The next day I contacted the transit authority. They had no record of any train operating during that time window. No delays, no emergency reports, nothing. A week later, curiosity got the better of me. I requested station security footage through a friend who worked for the city. The footage showed me entering the station at 12:39 a.m. It showed me waiting alone on the platform, completely alone. No woman with a book, no man in a gray hoodie, no other passengers. Then the recording cut out for nearly 3 hours. When the feed returned, it showed me exiting a completely different station across town, alone again. The footage ended there. I haven't used the subway late at night since. But about 6 months ago, I received another text from an unknown number. No greeting, no explanation, just a single sentence. "You got off at the wrong stop." And a few seconds later, before I could respond, a second message arrived. The other one made it home. Story 3. I was staring at the security monitor when the missing employee walked across camera 12. The problem was that I was standing next to the police officer who had spent 3 days searching for him. The man on the screen stopped directly beneath the floodlight, lifted his head toward the camera, and smiled. Then, every monitor in the security office went black at the exact same second. And somewhere out in the warehouse, a metal door slammed hard enough to shake the walls. For a few seconds, nobody moved. The police officer looked at me. I looked back at him. Neither of us said a word, because the man we had just seen was Ethan Morales, and Ethan had disappeared 72 hours earlier. My name is Jason Reed. I was 28 years old at the time, working overnight security at a large distribution warehouse outside Columbus, Ohio. The facility sat alone near an industrial district surrounded by trucking yards and empty roads. At night, the place felt abandoned. Just rows of shipping containers, loading docks, forklifts, and miles of shadows. My shift ran from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. Most nights were boring: patrols, camera checks, incident reports. The kind of job where you spent more time fighting sleep than dealing with actual problems. Then Ethan disappeared. Ethan worked the same shift as me. Friendly guy, 32 years old, always drinking energy drinks, always talking too much. 3 nights before everything happened, he signed into the patrol log at 1:08 a.m. Then he vanished. No sign out, no resignation, no emergency contact, nothing. His truck remained in the parking lot. His radio was found near Dock C, but Ethan himself was gone. The police searched the property. Nothing. They searched nearby fields. Nothing. 3 days passed. No leads, no witnesses, no answers. That's when management hired a replacement security guard, a guy named Mark. He arrived on a Thursday night. Tall, mid-40s, clean uniform, no personality. The kind of person who seemed impossible to read. At first, nothing felt strange. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. We were walking toward the security office when he glanced toward Dock C. "The missing guy disappeared over there, right?" I stopped walking. Nobody had mentioned Ethan. Not yet. Not to him. I remember staring at Mark. "How'd you know about that?" He shrugged. "Heard people talking. Maybe that should have been enough. Maybe I should have let it go." But something felt off, because nobody had been talking. Management specifically instructed everyone not to discuss the investigation with new employees, and Mark had only been on site for 15 minutes. Still, I ignored it. At least I tried to. Then things got stranger. Around midnight, we were monitoring cameras. Mark suddenly pointed at a hallway screen. That's where they found his radio. Again, nobody had told him that. I knew nobody had told him. The radio location had never been released publicly. Not even the warehouse workers knew. I looked at him. He looked back. Then he smiled slightly. Not enough to seem friendly, just enough to make me uncomfortable. That's when I noticed something worse. The timestamp on camera 12 suddenly jumped backward, only by 2 minutes. Then it corrected itself. I frowned. The system never did that, ever. A few moments later, camera 9 flickered, static, then normal, then static again. Mark kept staring at the screen, almost like he was waiting for something. "Bad cameras?" he asked. I nodded, sometimes, but honestly, I was lying. The cameras had worked perfectly for years. At 1:43 a.m., dispatch called. Routine check-in. Nothing unusual, but while I was talking on the radio, I heard another voice underneath the static, a whisper. Very faint. I couldn't make out most of it. Only one word, Ethan. I pulled the radio away from my ear. The whisper disappeared. Dispatch sounded normal. When I asked if they heard anything, they said no. That's when I realized Mark was watching me, not the monitors, me. Just standing there, watching. And the second I looked back, he turned away, like he'd been caught. The rest of the night crawled by. Nothing happened. No incidents, no alarms, no signs of Ethan. Morning came, shift ended. I went home, but I couldn't stop thinking about Mark. The next night felt worse. The moment I arrived, I noticed something unusual. Mark's patrol report was already completed. Every checkpoint, every inspection, every timestamp. The problem? Several entries were logged before he'd even clocked in. I checked twice. Same result. The timestamps were impossible. When I asked him about it, he laughed. Must be a computer glitch. Then he took the clipboard and walked away, too quickly, like he didn't want me examining it longer. That's when I noticed something worse. Camera 12 started moving. Not physically, the image itself, like someone was controlling the camera remotely, slowly panning across empty loading docks, then stopping, then moving again. I checked the control system. No user logged in. Nobody was operating it, yet the camera kept moving. Eventually it settled on one specific location, a chain-link fence behind warehouse section D, and stayed there for nearly 20 minutes, as if it was watching something or someone. At 2:17 a.m., emotion alert triggered. Same area, fence line. Mark immediately stood up. Before I could even react, I'll check it. Something about the speed of his response bothered me. Most guards complained about patrols. Mark almost seemed excited. I watched him leave through the monitor system. Flashlight, radio, normal, until he reached the fence. Then camera 12 froze. Static flooded the screen. The image disappeared. When it returned 30 seconds later, Mark was gone. Completely gone. No sign of him anywhere. I checked every camera. Nothing. No footage of him leaving. No footage of him returning. Nothing. Then my radio crackled. Jason. I froze. The voice wasn't dispatch. It wasn't management. It wasn't Mark. It sounded exactly like Ethan. The transmission ended immediately. I called back. No response. Again. Nothing. That's when I realized my hands were shaking, because Ethan's radio had been recovered 3 days earlier, and it was sitting inside an evidence locker at the police station. The rest of the shift became a nightmare. Motion alerts, static, random camera failures, unexplained noises, and Mark, he reappeared nearly 40 minutes later, walking calmly through the front entrance, like nothing had happened. When I asked where he'd been, he gave a simple answer, checking the perimeter. 40 minutes, no explanation, no concern, nothing. I almost quit right there, but the next night changed everything. Police returned to conduct another search. One officer remained in our security office reviewing footage. That's when we saw Ethan walking across camera 12. The moment that started this story, the moment everything fell apart. After the monitors went black, alarms started activating throughout the facility. Dock alarms, motion alarms, emergency exits, all at once. The warehouse erupted into noise. The officer grabbed his flashlight, I grabbed mine, and together we headed outside. Rain had started falling, cold, heavy. The floodlights barely cut through the darkness. We followed the trail toward the fence line, toward the exact location camera 12 always seemed obsessed with. Then we found something. Footprints. Fresh. Dozens of them. Not leading away, leading toward a maintenance building. A building that had supposedly been locked for months. The door stood open, just slightly. The officer entered first. I followed. Inside, we found old storage shelves, broken equipment, dust, nothing else. Until the officer shined his flashlight into the back corner. Someone had been living there. Sleeping bag, food wrappers, water bottles, and dozens of printed photographs. My heart nearly stopped. Every photo showed warehouse employees. Hundreds of pictures, taken secretly, Some from parking lots, some from inside the building, some from outside people's homes. Then we found Ethan, not Ethan himself, a photograph taken only hours earlier, standing beside someone whose face was partially hidden, but not hidden enough. It was Mark. The officer immediately called for backup. We searched the property. No sign of each man. Nothing. They vanished. Again. By sunrise, investigators were everywhere. Interviews, search warrants, questions. Nobody could find Mark. No address. No employment records. No background history. Nothing. The identification he'd provided was fake. Every part of it. The company that hired him couldn't explain how he'd passed screening. It was like he appeared from nowhere and then disappeared back into nowhere. Months passed. The case slowly went cold. Then one final thing happened. Something I still can't explain. I quit the warehouse, moved to another city, started a different job, tried to forget everything. One evening, nearly 6 months later, I received an email. No subject line, no sender information, only a single attachment. Photograph. The image showed me standing outside my apartment building. The timestamp was from earlier that day. I had never seen anyone taking it. I zoomed in, looked closer, and there, reflected in the glass entrance door behind me, was a familiar face, watching from across the street, smiling. Mark. I immediately contacted police. They traced the email. Nothing. Dead end. No sender, no location, no answers. A week later, another email arrived. Just one sentence. No signature, no explanation. Tell Ethan we're still looking for him. I stared at that message for a long time, because Ethan was the missing employee, the one everyone was searching for, the one who vanished, the one who shouldn't have been able to send messages. And that's when I remembered something that still keeps me awake at night. In every photograph found inside that maintenance building, one person appeared, repeatedly in the background. Not Mark, not Ethan. Someone else, someone investigators never identified. Someone standing far away, watching. The same figure appeared in the final photo attached to the email, standing behind me, close enough to touch my shoulder. And I swear to God, when I turned around after noticing it, the street behind me was completely empty. Story 4. The knocking started before I locked the front doors, which didn't make sense because I'd already watched the last customer drive away 10 minutes earlier. 3 slow knocks. Glass rattling, just enough to make me look up from the register. I remember staring toward the entrance, expecting some drunk guy needing cigarettes, but there was nobody there. Just the reflection of the fluorescent lights stretching across the empty parking lot, and my own tired face staring back at me through the glass. Then the payphone outside started ringing. That's what got me, honestly, because the payphone hadn't worked in over a year. I know that because people tried using it all the time after their cards got declined at the pumps. The cord had literally been cut by somebody last winter, but it was ringing, loud, sharp, over and over. I just stood there listening to it while the store speakers crackled with static above me. The weird part was, every time the phone rang, comp number 4 would activate by itself for half a second, just enough to click, like somebody squeezing the handle outside. I told myself it was electrical issues, old station, storm rolling in, simple explanation. Still didn't stop me from feeling sick all of a sudden. I'm Tyler, 24, and back then I worked nights at a gas station off Route 81 in northern Pennsylvania. Graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Most nights were dead quiet except for truckers, exhausted travelers, and the occasional addict wandering in for energy drinks at 3 in the morning. It wasn't a bad job, boring mostly, which is why I noticed weird things fast. And that night felt wrong almost immediately. I grabbed a key ring and stepped outside to lock the pumps for closing. Cold wind hit me first, smelled like wet pavement and diesel fuel. The payphone had stopped ringing by then. but pump 4 was still blinking active. Click, click, quick, like somebody was lifting the handle repeatedly. I walked over slowly, flashlight shaking a little because I was tired and annoyed and honestly already creeped out. Nobody there, no car, no footprints in the puddles around the pump either. I reached down and reset the handle. The second I touched it, my radio buzzed on my belt. Static first, then a voice. "You closed early tonight." I nearly dropped the flashlight. It sounded like an older man, calm, low voice, like he was standing right beside me. "Hello?" I said into the radio immediately. No answer, just static. Then the payphone rang again behind me. I spun around so fast my back cracked. The ringing echoed across the empty lot while rain started drizzling harder. And this time, I noticed the receiver on the payphone wasn't hanging anymore. It was that was finally moving in the wind. I don't know why I walked toward it. I should have gone inside, locked the doors, called somebody. But there's this weird thing people do when they're scared, where your brain wants an explanation more than safety. I kept thinking there had to be someone messing with me. Some local teenagers maybe. I picked up the receiver. Dead silence for about 2 seconds. Then breathing. Slow, wet-sounding breathing. "You forgot the back freezer," the voice whispered. I hung up instantly. My stomach dropped hard, because there actually was a back freezer storage room behind the station. Customers never saw it. No reason anybody outside would know about it. I went back inside fast and locked the front door behind me. That's when I noticed something worse. The freezer hallway light was on. I always left it off unless I needed inventory. I stood behind the counter staring at the hallway while the old refrigeration units hummed in the back. The station suddenly felt massive, empty in a bad way, like somebody could be standing anywhere. Then the motion sensor alarm chimed. 1 beep, meaning movement in aisle 3. I looked immediately. Nobody. Just shelves of chips and canned soup under flickering fluorescent lights. Another beep, this time aisle 5, then another, aisle 2. Like something was moving around the store without appearing long enough for me to see it. I grabbed the metal flashlight from under the register and walked toward the aisles, trying to keep my breathing steady. "Stores closed," I called out. My voice sounded weak in there. The lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere in the back, something metallic hit the floor. Loud. I froze instantly. Then came footsteps. Not running, slow footsteps. One after another behind the freezer door. I remember every tiny detail weirdly clearly. The flickering soda cooler lights, rain hitting the windows, the smell of burnt coffee sitting too long on the warmer. I opened the freezer hallway door, slowly, and saw the storage freezer cracked open about 3 inches. Cold vapor spilling out across the floor. The metal shelves inside cast long shadows into the hallway, and somebody was humming quietly in there. I swear to God, I almost ran immediately, but instead, I said, "Hey." Coming stopped. Silence. Then the radio on my belt crackled again. "Don't open it." Same voice. "Called." Close. I backed away from the freezer instantly. Then the lights went out. Completely. Whole station black except for the beer cooler glow behind me. I heard movement immediately. Fast movement. Shoes scraping hard across tiles somewhere near the aisles. I ducked behind the counter and grabbed my phone, trying to use the flashlight app while dialing 911 at the same time. But before the call connected, the backup generator kicked on. Lights flickered back weak and yellow. The freezer hallway door was closed now, completely closed, and the humming had stopped. The police dispatcher answered while I kept staring toward the back. I told her someone might be inside the station. She asked if I could see them. I said no. Then the motion sensor chimed again. Aisle 1, right beside the front door. I looked over slowly and saw a man standing there. I don't know where he came from. Thin guy, late 50s maybe. Gray jacket soaked from rain. He wasn't moving at all, just standing beside the gum rack, staring at me. "Sir," I said. He smiled slightly. Not friendly, just enough to make me uncomfortable. Then he looked toward the back hallway and said, "You shouldn't stay after 3. The dispatcher kept talking in my ear, asking if I was safe, but I barely heard her. The man walked toward the coffee station slowly. I noticed something strange immediately. His clothes were soaked from outside rain, but there were no wet footprints behind him. None. He stopped near the coffee machines and looked toward the security monitors mounted above the register. "Did he call you too?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer. My entire body felt cold suddenly. Then all 6 security screens went black at once. Every monitor gone. The man sighed like he'd seen it before. "Yeah," he muttered. "That's bad." Then the payphone outside started ringing again, loud enough to hear through the glass. The man stared toward it without moving. "Don't answer it this time," he said. Seriously. I asked him who he was. He ignored me. Instead, he walked slowly toward the front windows. That's when I noticed the pickup truck parked at Pump 4. Black truck, headlights off. I swear it hadn't been there 30 seconds earlier. Rain dripped off the hood. Driver door hanging slightly open. The man beside the coffee station looked terrified suddenly. Not nervous, terrified. "You need to lock the office door," he whispered. "Right now." Then all the lights flickered again, just once. But during that split second of darkness, the truck was suddenly closer. Not possible. It was somehow parked directly outside the entrance now. Engine still off, driver door still hanging open. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe right. The old man backed away from the windows immediately. "He knows you saw him," he said. "Who?" I snapped. Before he answered, the station phone rang behind the counter. I jumped. The caller ID just said unknown. The old man stared at it but didn't move. It kept ringing, over and over. Finally, I answered. Static filled the line for a second. Then my own voice said, "He's behind the cooler." I hung up immediately and turned toward the beer cooler aisle. Nothing there, but the cooler door at the very end was swinging slowly open and shut by itself. The old man started walking backward toward the employee exit. "Nope," he muttered. "Not tonight." I yelled at him not to leave me there alone, but he ignored me completely and disappeared through the side door into the rain. I rushed to lock it behind him. When I turned back around, the store was empty again, completely empty. No truck outside anymore either, just rain. I waited for police sitting behind the counter, gripping that flashlight so hard my hand cramped. They arrived about 12 minutes later. 2 deputies searched everything: freezer, bathrooms, roof access. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No truck caught on nearby traffic cameras either. They thought it was probably stress, maybe somebody messing around outside, but one deputy looked uncomfortable after checking the security system. Around 3:07 a.m., every camera in the store had cut to static for exactly 4 minutes. During those 4 minutes, one frame appeared on screen before the footage resumed. Just one frame. It showed me standing behind the register alone, completely still, looking directly into the camera. Except, something was standing beside me, tall, blurry, almost out of frame, and it looked like it was leaning close to my ear. The deputy asked if someone had been near me then. I said no. He didn't answer after that, just printed the frame quietly and folded it into his pocket. I quit 2 days later. The station got demolished last fall after a fire in the storage room. Nobody was hurt. At least that's what the article said. But sometimes, usually late at night, I still think about that phone call. My own voice warning me somebody was behind the cooler. Because here's the thing I never told the police. When I turned toward the cooler after the call, for just a second, I saw someone duck behind the shelves. Same height as me, same jacket, same face. Story 5. The ranger locked the fire tower at exactly 11:52 p.m. I remember the time because my radio started screaming seconds later. Not static, not interference. Somebody was whispering directly into it. Quiet, panicked. Repeating the same sentence over and over. "Don't let him upstairs." The problem was, I was already alone upstairs. I was working seasonal night watch in a Black Hills National Forest in South Dakota during late November. My job was simple: watch for illegal campfires, monitor storm movement, and report anything unusual on the old Ranger frequencies. Most nights were painfully boring. Wind through dead trees, coyotes somewhere in the dark. The tower creaking softly every few minutes like it was settling into the mountain. The ranger assigned to my route was named Keller. Older guy, maybe early 60s. Quiet, always looked exhausted. The first thing he told me before my shift started was strange enough to stick with me. If somebody knocks after midnight, he said, call me before you answer. I laughed, because I thought he meant tourists. He didn't laugh back. Around 10 p.m., the fog rolled in hard enough to erase the forest below the tower. I couldn't even see the lower staircase anymore. My flashlight beam just disappeared into white haze. That kind of isolation does something to your head after a few hours. Every sound feels closer than it should. And then I heard footsteps below me. Slow footsteps, metal stairs groaning one at a time. At first I assumed Keller had come back, but nobody called up, nobody used the radio. The footsteps climbed halfway, then stopped. Silence. I leaned over the railing with my flashlight. Nothing. Just fog drifting around the staircase. That's when my radio crackled again. Why did you lock me out? The voice sounded exactly like Keller. I grabbed the radio immediately. Keller, where are you? No response. Just breathing. Wet breathing. Then the transmission cut off. That's when I noticed something worse. The padlock on the tower hatch was hanging from the outside latch. Locked. I stared at it for a solid 5 seconds, trying to understand what I was seeing. There was no way that made sense. I was standing inside the tower, but the lock was fastened from the outside. My hands started shaking instantly. I wish I could explain the feeling properly. It wasn't panic at first. It was confusion so intense it physically hurt, like your brain refusing to process something directly in front of you. Then somebody knocked from underneath the hatch. 3 slow knocks. The sound echoed through the entire tower. I backed away so fast I knocked over my coffee thermos. Hot coffee spilled across the floorboards while another knock hit the hatch. Louder this time. Keller? I asked. Nothing answered. But a few seconds later, footsteps started descending the stairs again, slow, heavy. Like whoever climbed up had changed their mind. I stayed awake the rest of the night, gripping the flashlight like a weapon. Every 20 minutes, the footsteps returned, sometimes climbing halfway, sometimes reaching the hatch, never opening it, never speaking again. At sunrise, the fog cleared. The padlock was gone. No footprints, no Ranger vehicle below. Nothing. When Keller arrived around 8 a.m., I immediately told him everything. The strange radio calls, the footsteps, the lock outside the hatch. His expression changed instantly. Not confused, worried. He asked me one question. Did you open the hatch? I told him no. He nodded slowly and stared into the trees for a long time before finally saying, good. That night, I searched the old Ranger logs stored inside the tower cabinets. Most were weather reports and patrol notes dating back decades, but buried near the bottom was an incident report from 1998. A ranger named Eli Warren disappeared during a blizzard while staffing the exact same tower. Last radio transmission, somebody locked me outside. His body was never found, and according to the records, Keller had been the last person to speak with him. By the end of my final shift, I realized something even worse. Every radio transmission I heard that night had been time-stamped 15 minutes before they actually happened, and the final transmission waiting in the log system was recorded in my own voice, begging somebody to let me back inside. Story Two people disappeared near Bitter Creek Trail for almost 20 years. Most visitors blamed cliffs, wildlife, exposure. But according to former rangers, there was another reason people avoided the north side of the canyon after dark. Not because something hunted there, because sometimes somebody would answer your voice from underground. My friend Nolan learned that during a winter search operation in Utah back in 2021. He worked overnight rescue patrol near Canyonlands National Park. One December evening, a teenage camper vanished after leaving his tent around midnight. No signs of struggle, no footprints leaving camp. Nothing except a flashlight found near the tree line pointing toward a narrow cave entrance hidden behind rocks. The rescue team searched until almost dawn before weather forced everyone back to the station. Everyone except Nolan and another ranger named Briggs. They stayed behind to finish checking the canyon perimeter before the snowstorm arrived. That's when the radio problem started. At first it sounded like normal interference from the cliffs. Broken static, partial words. But while Nolan scanned the canyon trail, somebody suddenly spoke through the radio in Briggs's exact voice. "I found him." Nolan turned immediately. Briggs was standing 20 feet away, and his radio was still clipped to his jacket. The transmission came again, this time from underground. "I found him, down here." Nolan later said the silence afterward felt worse than the voice itself. No wind, no animals, just cold air moving through the canyon while the flashlight beams shook against the rocks. Briggs tried contacting dispatch. Nothing worked. Every frequency repeated the same distorted sentence underneath the static. "Come closer." That's when they noticed muddy footprints leading toward the cave entrance. Bare footprints, small ones, like a child walking through freezing mud. The tracks stopped suddenly near the darkness inside the cave. Not faded, not covered, just stopped. Briggs wanted to leave immediately. Nolan didn't. He kept insisting the missing camper could still be alive. So against better judgment, they entered the cave together. The deeper they walked, the quieter the world became. Even their footsteps sounded muted. About 10 minutes inside, Nolan found something disturbing. A fresh park ranger badge lying beside the cave wall. Old design, rust along the edges. The engraved name read, Eli Warren. That's when Briggs completely lost composure. He grabbed Nolan and demanded they leave immediately. According to Briggs, Eli Warren had vanished decades earlier from another park several states away. His disappearance became a training story among older rangers. Nobody knew how his badge ended up there. And then it happened again. The radio clicked alive. Only this time the voice whispering through the speaker sounded exactly like Nolan. "Don't leave me here." Briggs ran, not panic jogging. Full sprint through the cave tunnels. Nolan chased after him while the radio kept activating behind them every few seconds. Different voices, different people, all begging for help. Some crying, some laughing softly. And mixed underneath everything, footsteps. Extra footsteps, too many footsteps. When they finally reached the cave entrance, Briggs realized Nolan wasn't behind him anymore. He vanished somewhere inside the tunnels. Search teams spent 11 days combing the canyon. They found Nolan's flashlight, his jacket, and fresh footprints circling the cave entrance every morning. But they never found Nolan. The strangest part came months later. Briggs received a voicemail from Nolan's phone at 2:13 a.m. The message contained nothing except heavy breathing and distant radio static. Right before the call ended, Nolan whispered, "Something followed us out."